Hi, everybody. I'm Chitra and I'm from Hyreo. Welcome to the second episode of the Hyreo RISE podcast series, a platform to meet experienced HR leaders across various industries who have seen the HR function evolve over time. Today on our podcast, we have Magesh Sambasivan, who heads the APAC People Organization at Assurant. In his career spanning 25 years, he worked across the globe in various HR roles in organizations like Aditi Technologies, HP, Accenture, and banks like ANZ Bank and SocGen. Now, Nagesh has a background in computer science to complement his MBA in HR, and he's a strong advocate for using technology to put the focus back on the human in HR. He's also currently on the advisory board of a couple of HR tech startups, including Hyreo. Now, about today's podcast topic, right? HR tech has been a great enabler for talent professionals, transforming them into strategic advisors, helping them build impactful relationships, not just with business stakeholders, but also with employees and potential candidates. However, with the innumerable options that are flooding the market now, right, it becomes hard to figure out how to build the right HR tech stack. And once you have it, how do we optimize it to drive efficiency and employee experience, right? So, moving over to you, Mahesh, in your experience and opinion, how do you believe HR tech has transformed the landscape of modern day HR?
Thanks for having me here, Chitra. HR tech has come a really long way. Initially, when we started using technology in HR, it was for efficiency. How do we get large amount of data together? How do you try to bring different systems together? And then it moved to effectiveness. Now, since you have everything in place, how do I leverage it? How do I get information and intelligence out of it? And then we saw a phase where we started looking at employee experience. How do you use HR tech to enable the employee experience right from the time when he or she is a candidate till the entire life cycle in the organization. But now what I'm seeing now is HR tech can be leveraged in a much better manner. What's happening is we are moving away from employee experience, and now with the various artificial intelligence things coming in, you can actually leverage HR tech to help employees become better versions of themselves, and that's something that I'm really excited about.
And with the wide range of HR tech on offer these days, right? What key factors do you consider when you're choosing the right technology that aligns with the needs and goals of your organization?
The first thing is you need to start with your end state in mind. So basically, what are you looking for? What is it you are trying to achieve at the end of the day? And work backwards to see which are the areas in which you could use HR tech. And that's how you start. And the other one is also in terms of the technology integration. You need to ensure that the technology which you're using in HR integrates with the rest of the technology in the organization. It should not be in such a way that HR is at a higher technology level than rest of the organization or vice versa. So there should be sort of an integration between both the technology used in the organization and what HR uses. And the third one which I look for is the vendor, the product vendor, right? Today, you have many startups coming, and startups do have some wonderful solutions in place. And for me, it is all about uh, how much focus the founders are, right? What is their long-term vision? And in what way the business plan itself, right? In terms of what is their skin in the game, that's very important for me because many of the startups are really brilliant, but I think the vision and the commitment of the founder of these startups is very important. And finally, I also look at the scalability of the solution because we are in a global world today, and you cannot have standalone solutions. Your solution should be scalable.
Agree. And what process would you follow for a successful implementation and to ensure a smooth transition and better user adoption?
Uh, we should look at this implementation of any HR tech as an opportunity to transform. It doesn't make sense if we are using HR technology just to technology into an existing process. So look at how do you transform. That's very important. And for each of the stakeholders in the entire process, it could be your CEO, it could be the employees, it could be the HR team. Explain what is in it for them, so that they know how things are going to change for them. And you also need to get the collective buy-in of the HR team. This is extremely important because the HR team which will be getting mostly affected in terms of the way they work changes because of this. Co-create with the end users. This is something which I found in my experience to be very useful. The end users sit down with you and help design the solution, and you find a greater level of acceptance when you do this. And like any other campaign, right? You need to build excitement. You need to publicize the wins.
Yeah.
And one very important thing, once you have an implementation in place, be very clear as to when you're going to switch over to the new. Do not keep the old things still, for legacy's sake. You need to have a clear-cut transition to the new one.
Got it. Okay. And based on your experiences, right, what are some of the common challenges that companies face when implementing HR tech, and what do you believe are strategies that can help people avoid or overcome them?
One is you should have the big picture in mind, and you should have a razor-like focus on that. Because once you start implementation, you'll start looking at, can I solve some other problem too? I see this technology is really good. Can I do something else? That should not be there. You are using it to solve a particular use case or problem. Focus on that. Second one is do not start from what exists. Reimagine how you want the future to be, and then work backwards. If you start from what you exist, you are just enabling technology to an existing solution, and that's not what HR tech is for. The next two ones are more human related. One is you also find fear of loss of control from the HR team, and that's something you will need to educate the HR team as to why we are doing what you are doing and how their roles will change. And it's not about control; it's about enabling. HR job is not to control; it's to enable, right? So you need to ensure that. And finally, sometimes when you go into self-service, you also have a pushback from managers and the employees as to why should I be doing all this? Isn't this HR's job? So you need to explain to them how their life changes, because it's going to be much more easier for them. Uh, the very intention of getting into self-service is to make things simpler, and people should understand that. So these four have been the most common challenges which for any HR tech implementations I had come across.
Got it. Okay. And how do you ensure that the HR tech solutions implemented are user-friendly and they cater to the needs of the employees, thus elevating the employee experience?
Okay. I think the most important thing is telling the vision to people. It's not something which you're designing for making HR function more efficient or HR person's life easy. It's about how do you add value to everyone in the system, right? From a business perspective, how do you add value to the business? And from an employee perspective, how do you enhance the employee experience? How do you make life simpler for employees? So that's what it is. So the communication part is very, very much important. And then I think, like I said earlier, right, bring the users right at the beginning. So co-create with the employees. Uh, Look at it as a business solution. Do not look at this as a HR solution. Then you will start looking at it in a different way. How do you leverage the maximum out of your HR tech implementation? And I also tell my teams, right, remove your HR. Look at it as a user. Look at it as a business owner rather than as a HR person.
Agreed. And how have you been able to establish a clear connection between an improved employee experience that has been facilitated by HR Tech and increased efficiency and productivity within the organization with possibly specific outcomes?
I'll give you a couple of examples which we had done in the past. One is we started using HR chatbots. This was about a year before the pandemic started.
Okay.
The typical pushback was how can you need to speak to a HR person. How can you have a chatbot and how can you speak to a chatbot? This was a sentiment analysis chatbot which we are using. So it's not just a set of questions which you answer, it's questions which lead to one another.
Okay.
And it's conversational, right? So the challenge was always why should someone converse with a chatbot and not with a HR person?
Okay.
And we had to overcome that. Let people know that even when you want anything, for example, when you fall sick, you don't go to the doctor the first thing. You first go on Google and check, right? So when you are ready to look at, you are ready to interact with someone who's not a physical person, what's the issue here? So we managed to get some sort of change out there, and then we started using the chatbot. And the adoption was quite high. People started using it quite. Initially, it was curiosity, and then people started seeing the benefits of using it because they knew that whatever they had to communicate was being communicated. It was a great two-way communication channel, and especially when pandemic struck, it really helped us to keep the employees engaged, right? And we saw engagement scores go up during the pandemic. The other one, which we used, are real-time dashboards. Um, in real-time dashboards seems to be very simple, but getting the data right to ensure that people use the dashboards is the correct plan. We spent about 1 year just working on getting the data right, cleaning the data, ensuring there's consistency of data. And then we introduced the real-time dashboards, which had metrics which a business manager would want to see. It was not necessarily metrics which the HR person wants to see, it's what the business manager wants to see, and we gave access to the business leaders. And this brought about a big change because no longer were business leaders waiting for a HR report. And at any point of time, the HR person as well as the business leader had access to the same data. You are looking at the same data, right? Real time. So
Yes.
that made quite a lot of difference. It helped us to take decisions much quicker, identify potential issues even before they became issues. The other interesting one which we did was in terms of learning. We created learning journeys for people to go from one skill level to another one, or from moving from one role to another. We created learning journeys. And during that part, we realized that there was much more which existed outside the organization, which can be leveraged rather than whatever learning interventions we had within the organization. So we created an open learning journey where people could, where the entire journey was divided into modules. Some of the modules were internal ones, some of the modules we used externally from MOOCs and any other thing which was available outside on the web.
Got it.
I started using it. And what we did different there was, since it was on a very modular basis, we also let the employees know that in case you come across some other learning, some other video or some other article which explains what you are trying to learn here better, do let us know. And we will incorporate this, we'll make the change. So as a result, we saw a high usage. A lot of people are using our learning uh, platform and the learning journeys, and people are giving feedback. At the same time, improving it, right? Each
Got it.
iteration became much better than the previous one.
You
That
understand.
is again a great example of how we started off with something, but we ended up co-creating it with the end user.
Got it. And engaging them better. Got it. And how do you see HR tech impacting the day-to-day life of an HR professional?
The biggest changes, you have access to so much data. So you can see trends, you can see the big picture, you can zoom in, you can find out what's happening at an organization level to what's happening at an individual level, thanks to data and HR technology. This helps the HR business partner personalize the interaction with employees. So when you go and have a conversation with the employee, you are speaking what matters to him, or you're not speaking what's happening generally, right? You're speaking what is relevant to him or her. So in that way, it helps quite a lot, and it also frees up time. You don't end up time trying to get your reports or trying to ensure data is correct or trying to send so many mails or anything, trying to communicate to a large audience, this thing. So it gives you a lot of time, and so that you can focus on what HR should be really doing, right, in terms of helping managers develop that team, act as coaches, trying to find out the talent trends which is happening, getting your employees ready for the future skilling the organization. That's what HR should be doing. And HR Tech enables us to do it instead of spending time trying to run around, present reports or
Yes, we
provide
do.
charts.
Correct. Got it. And how do you believe HR tech can be leveraged to make the right decisions?
One is data. You have access to quite a lot of data. So you understand what is happening. You have access to data real time or close to real time, right? So which helps you make faster decisions. Another interesting thing which I saw with data itself is that, right, when you have HR Tech, you start presenting data, people change, their behavior changes. I'll give you an example. Uh, Gender diversity was one of the important things in one of the organizations where I worked, right? And we were contemplating, should we set targets in terms of saying this is a percentage of the workforce should be this, and we decided to take a contrarian approach, right? Let's not set targets, but let's show people trend as to what has happened so far, and
Agree.
let people react. And it was a pleasant surprise when people saw that. People realized that, "Oh, I've been biased unconsciously. So let me correct it myself," right? And people started looking at how to change their behavior. How do I, get a more gender diverse workforce? And we saw the diversity numbers go up. We didn't force anyone. We didn't say people that, look, you have to achieve this target. And people started realizing this is what's happening. When they saw the data, then people change. I think that's the great thing with data, right? Many times you do not know what you're doing, and once you
Because it's
see it
holding up a
happening,
mirror. Yeah,
exactly, you see it's happening, then you change yourself.
change yourself. Got it. And what are the critical skills that HR professionals, right, must embrace in this era of AI to excel in their roles? And how do you believe they're different from the traditional skills?
Uh, Traditional HR most of the times was very rule based. I'm sorry, rule based. right? So you had certain policies, you had everything, so you followed it, right?
Yes.
Today, now with things changing so fast, I think one of this, and you have access to a lot of information, data, everything. How do you make sense of everything that you have? So HR professionals should be good storytellers. You need to know the art of telling story using data. That's a skill which one should do it, and you also need to have a good appreciation of technology. It's not that you need not be a great, you need not code, but you need to know how you can leverage technology, and you at the same time you should not shy away from technology. Technology in HR is here to stay, and you need to understand that. You need to know how to use it. The one is again, it's not just for HR. The way things are changing, I think people should develop a sense of curiosity, ask the right questions, and develop your own playbook as to how you need to adapt yourself when things around you are changing.
Got it. And what upskilling programs were taken for your teams to use the HR tech with efficacy?
One was on the art of storytelling. So we did get all our team members, trained on how to tell stories using data. It's very funny. Data is cold, hard, stories warm, emotional. So how do you use the cold data to tell the story which people can relate to? So that's very important. The other one is on design thinking, right? How do you design things, keep the user at the center? And these were two trainings which the HR teams did go through, so that they get a better perspective and better understanding of whatever changes, how we are doing, how do we communicate it, and how do we keep the employee at the center whenever we make these changes. That's from a training program perspective. The other one, in terms of the behavior of a HR professional, so that we had to regulate certain things. One is being more disciplined in terms of using HR tech in your day-to-day life, as well as giving the feedback. For example, you have an interaction with the employee and come in, just jot the notes, because that's important data point for you to go the next time when you're going to use chatbot or whatever. The other one is also in terms of highlighting the importance of accurate data. Ensure that whatever data you are using or you are sharing is accurate.
Got it. Okay. And as we coming to the end of the podcast, right? Quickly to understand your views on the future of HR tech, from your perspective as a leader in this HR space, right? What are some of the upcoming trends in HR tech that you are most excited about, and what are some of the new opportunities for enhancing efficiency and productivity that you see them creating?
I think responsible AI in recruitment is going to be a very interesting area. How do you identify the right person for the right job without being biased? That's going to be an interesting area. The other one is augmented analytics. Today you have data analytics. You need a data scientist or someone to come back to help you put everything together and answer your queries. But you could actually type in saying that I want to see my particular, let's say, my compa ratio move for a particular set of employees over a period of 3 years. You just type in and and you get the answers for that. So that's an exciting area. I see a lot of innovations in learning. It's how do you combine what's internal within the organization and what exists outside the organization, and give it as an offering to the employee. So that's also something which is very exciting. Generative AI, I've seen use cases, but I have not really seen it in action. Right. So one of the places that I have personally used is maybe for making presentations or for creating more effective JD. That's what I have been using it so far, but I have not seen anything beyond that so far. So still, the jury is out on that. And I think all this will help you in personalizing the employee experience.
Got it. And what is your recommendation to HR leaders to navigate these potential hurdles, right? And leverage the future of HR tech to its maximum?
Yeah, if you are looking at recommendations, it's one is uh, have the big picture. Always keep that in mind. Do not you be clear what you are trying to do and how you want to achieve it. The other one is most of the times for HR tech, you need to be able to explain the benefits to the CEO. So learn to think of it as a business solution and try to and understand how do you articulate the benefits of it to the CEO. And technology is an enabler at the end of the day. It's not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve everything, right? So if you're using technology just to put a technology spin to your current process, nothing is going to happen. You need to look at this as a way to actually change everything, right? It's a transformation. You need to look at it from that perspective and ensure whatever you do is scalable. That's something. It's today most organizations are global. So what works in one part of the organization, you need to ensure that it can be scaled to every other part of the organization. Meaning you need to take complexities in terms of data privacy, languages, local laws, everything. The whatever solution you use should be able to accommodate this once you scale. And finally, again, my this thing is you need to get the right product and the right vendor. That's very important.
Agreed. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mahesh, for speaking to the entire, spectrum or breadth of HR tech, right from, what should be the priorities when you start out selecting the right HR tech product to what might be some of the key trends to watch out for and, what would make this the best decision for your team. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Chitra. I think we just scratched the surface as far as HR tech is concerned, right? There are a lot of ways in which you can leverage it. And I hope we get to see much more user cases coming up in the HR field.
Right. Thank you so much, Mahesh.
Thank you.